Welcome to the Postpartum Coach podcast, where we embrace our needs as moms, we learn to lead ourselves first, then our families, and where we create our own healing from the inside out to find our way to the work we were meant to do in this world. I'm your host, a fellow mom of 3 and a certified life coach, Lizzie Langston. Hey, beautiful mamas. It is so good to be with you. I have been in the thick of summer with all the kids home. For those of you who homeschool, maybe you're not feeling it the same way that I am. I have homeschooled before, but a month or so ago, my kids were in school full time. Since February, when we moved back to the States, they've been in a public school. And so this is new, having them home again full time. I do have a sitter that comes sometimes, but it's been so beautiful and also so rough and revealing. I'm hoping and thinking a lot of you guys are feeling the same way. So I actually had a lot of back and forth on what to share with you today. And I ultimately decided that I just wanted to share some really big shifts and changes and breakthroughs and wins and perspective changes and stuff like that I've been experiencing personally. I love hearing stuff like that from the people that I listen to on the podcasts that I listen to. I can't get enough of their personal story stuff. And so I'm hoping that this could be just as, if not more instructive than any lesson type, outline that I could share with you today. And frankly, it's just what I want to share. It's exciting. I want to connect with you guys. I want you guys to feel like you know me and for us to feel inspired by one another. I know I'm inspired by you guys when you DM me and tell me, how amazing you feel after listening to the podcast or being in one of my groups. You guys inspire me. Real quick before I share some of these things, the first, I guess this is one of them, but the first really big, exciting breakthrough that I want to share is that this podcast is getting so close to 100,000 downloads. What I mean to say is it's been 3 years and we are at almost 96,000 downloads, my friends. And if you look at the statistics and there's graphs in where I host my podcast, I can see graphs of the growth, and a lot of the growth has been happening in the last 6 months. And so almost half of all of those downloads have been happening most recently, which means that we're growing quickly and a lot. And I just wanted to say thank you to you guys. And I want you to know that I will give $100 to a person of whoever wins this giveaway, but you can choose the store that you want this $100 to go to. I will literally buy you a gift card to a store that you love, up to the value of $100. And the way that you qualify for that is if you leave me a review on this podcast, a written review. And please make it authentic. Don't do it just for the money. But if you do, I will take the reviews that have been left after today, which is July 13th, until we hit 100,000. And I'm telling you, I think it's going to happen in less than probably 2 weeks or so. So you have 2 weeks, but do it soon. And those who have left reviews, I'll put you all in a random drawing and I will pick one and you will win $100 to wherever you want to spend it. I will buy you the gift card and send it to you electronically. Isn't that fun? Because I want to celebrate. I want to freaking celebrate this podcast, and I want to celebrate each other and the progress we've all made with this podcast and the impact that we have all had on each other. Sometimes we don't realize how connected we all are and how similar our struggles are. And so part of me wanting to celebrate the 100,000 and the growth of this podcast is to celebrate, more importantly than the growth of the podcast, is really the growth of the women here. I know I've grown, and I know a lot of you guys have expanded and grown from listening to this podcast. And so I just want to put a light and shine a light on this podcast. And the way I choose to do that is by leaving a written review. Pick an amount of stars, leave the words, and then once you've done that, I will see it and I will make sure I put you in my drawing, and then I will announce it you need to make sure I have a way to get a hold of you. And so I think the best way to make sure that that happens is email me once you've left the review. I know it's an extra step, but otherwise I can't confirm that it's you and get you the money. So email me, Lizzie@LizzieLangston.com, and just put the title, the subject, podcast review. And I will then have your email address. And so I will know where to send the $100. Once it's you that wins, I'll ask you where you want the money to go. Okay. I'm so excited for you, and I'm so grateful for you guys and this podcast. It's incredible. I'm just my dreams are coming true. It's amazing. Okay. So let me tell you about some growth lately. This is going to be fun. My dog is licking himself currently in the corner of this room. So if you hear weird noises, that's what that is. Okay. The first area of growth and really just enjoyment is yoga. So a lot of you know I attended a 10-day yoga retreat, and it was amazing. And I just want to give, again, a shout out because this yoga guru that I study with, she's so generous and she's the real deal. She is a treasure, and I'm protective of her in this beautiful world. She's amazing. Her name is Sil, short for Sylvia, so Sil Carson. And her studio is Bodhi, Bodhi yoga. So you can go to gobodhiyoga.com. And the best way to be updated with her is her Facebook page. So I think it's just Sil Carson or Bodhi Yoga. You can just find her on Facebook. She's amazing. Okay. So I attended her retreat, and it was probably 12 days total because of travel and stuff, away from my family, and so much time by myself, deep in thought, meditation, exploring the medium of yoga. So much healing and releasing. And I think what healed the most, and I'll talk more about this a little bit actually towards the end of the episode, is my relationship with money, and even more beyond that, just my root chakra, my sense of safety in general. So much healing, and it wasn't all easy and beautiful, but it was so cool. Anyway, so now that I've been home, it had been a week. So I did yoga this morning, but before that had been almost a week, just because I've been with my kids more and whatever. So I did yoga this morning, even though it meant that some dishes didn't get done and I wasn't dressed when my babysitter that I have each morning got here. But I got to do yoga, and I had this moment where I was just sort of sitting there doing, stretching, but I had been really listening to my body, and I connected with her. And when I say her, I mean me, but the wise, eternal sort of sense of me that's there, that's present. Not just me as in my thoughts and my body and this existence, the temporary, the ego. I caught a glimpse and had a connection with her, my deep, wise, highest self. And this is the magic of yoga. And this is why I love yoga. And I actually felt inspired after that practice on the grass today to write down my thoughts about the magic of yoga. And I wanted to share them with you. So if you hear my pages in the background, that's what I'm getting, is my little poem I wrote. This is called The Magic of Yoga. It's original. I just wrote it this morning. The magic of yoga is not the movements. Those are nice. Who doesn't like to feel warm and loose? But it's the way you deeply come back, one breath, one yawn at a time, back to your body. Yoga can help you gather scattered, lost parts of yourself, parts you didn't even know were lost. The magic of yoga is not the stretch or the movement, although it's so fun discovering pockets and caverns of your body that you've never explored or paid attention to. No, the magic of yoga and the reward is that you unexpectedly sometimes, in a breath, in any pose, or for me today, it was child's pose. The unexpected gift is when she arrives. She, the you that was before coming into this body, the you of past existences, the real she, the limitless one. You can feel her rarely at first, as yoga pulls energy from your talkative mind and ego down into your body, through and down into your wise, ancient, precious body. One pose, one in-between pose at a time, yoga unlocks the centers and she reveals yourself. She is there, waiting behind a curtain of breath, a flow of vinyasas, or right between your knees as you rest in child's pose, the one who knows all answers. Her presence is why I keep coming back. I drink from her like an elixir of life. I pause and bask in her everythingness and her nothingness. A bottle of the most rainbow precious wine. She is the magic of yoga. And she's there. And as you step on your mat or on your grass, and as you even just attempt to enter more deeply into the temple of your body, she will be there. Enter, seek her, and she will be waiting behind that one breath. So that's my poem. I hope you liked it. I like it, but it's not really about liking it. It's just true. It's just how I felt today. Okay, the next thing I want to share with you is that my mom is so emotionally mature. I feel like, especially this last couple of years, I just feel like we've been getting along better. It's also been hard sometimes, but she actually, for the sake of our relationship, she spoke up and said, hey, would you set some boundaries? Like whatever they need to be, let's do it so that we can get along better and like have things be smooth. And so it was we both wanted that. And so I was able in such a safe space, which I didn't anticipate, just feeling so safe. I was able to come up with some things that are important to me that I want to have happen or not happen. And she was so receptive to it. And she's like, we are so very different, and yet we're able to come together and have this mature relationship. And I'm able to really authentically be in my power, for it most of the time. I mean, it's something I'm still working on, but this, my friends, is a product of a lot of work. And so I just wanted to say that that was a sacred experience and it was beautiful. And I just really want to tell you that boundaries are so great because they preserve our relationships, our most cherished relationships, while also preserving our relationship with ourself. And I actually have some pretty deep and specific episodes on boundaries on my private podcast, which you get access to. Did you know I have a private podcast? It's called Healing in Home. And I actually sang the intro for it. And like I had my producer mix it. And so like my voice sings to you every time you listen to an episode. And you get access to my private podcast when you join my group program, which is, by the way, starting in August. If you didn't hear, the end of August. It was going to start in July, but #summer love, #summer. So we're going to start in August. So you can still join. That's the good news. So just go to lizzieLangston.com/program. The link will be in the show notes for faux show. But yeah, set boundaries with my mom from a place of mutual agreement that that's what our relationship needed. And it feels so good. And I love her so much, like so much. And I felt so much love for her as I did that. And she might even have her own things to set with me. And it just felt amazing. Do you hear that thunder? It's storming outside. It's like late at night in Arizona and it's getting close to monsoon season, which is August, but it's towards the end of July now. And so it's straight up like starting to storm outside and it's great. And my dog's a little nervous. He's pacing. All right. The next thing I want to share with you is so fun. This is another topic or moment in my life that feels like a dream come true, which is that I feel like I've landed in this really gooey, authentic place with cooking and food and preparation of food and buying food and like thinking about food and handling food and interacting with food. So it all started with a book that I'm reading, which is called Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. She is a feminist. She is don't even know what to call her. She's so many things. And she's so attuned and spiritual and wonderful. And she knows the Gospel of Mary Magdalene just as well as she knows, which she really, really knows, the Bible. And so she's such a cool cat. You got to check her out. Anyway, her book's phenomenal. So I've been reading this book and just been really drawing upon this feminine part of God and this feminine, like focusing on the feminine all around us. And for me, food is, and not just for me, I think a lot of people feel this way, but food is like mother. I mean, food is like the inverse of God. Not like Satan type inverse. Like it's the earth version of God and heaven, because food feeds us. I mean, food is like our source here on earth. We need it. We nurse the earth through eating food. So that's a whole different conversation. But because through reading her book and then just through having kind of a over-controlling, sort of like a strict relationship with food, and then going to like really loose and like very careless, kind of back and forth between those two for a while now, I feel like and this could change, but it feels like I really came into this pretty place of like really enjoying slowly cooking and preparing meals. I used to think that I didn't have time or that I couldn't make the time. But what I've realized is that there's so much value and I get so much on an energetic and emotional level out of cooking. And maybe this isn't the same for everyone in every phase. So I'm definitely not saying this to try to make anybody do it the way I do it. But I just wanted you guys to know that I've come into this place where we've actually been sitting down and having dinners together, maybe like at least 3 times a week, which is more than, I mean, we usually do, but usually it's like 4 out of the 5 of us, or it's all of us, but one of us is standing up, or we're eating around the bar, like not what I wanted, I guess, when I like went into having kids. But then you have all the adjustments and things that you didn't anticipate, and so many nights you just don't feel like cooking, etc. But what I realized is like my desire to cook was actually really intertwined with my relationship with the feminine. I'll say that again. My desire to cook and my ability or like interest in it and like enjoyment of it is actually indicative and reflective of my relationship with the feminine in all things, the feminine energy. I'm reading this book called You Are a Goddess by Sophie Bashford. And in it, on page 10 and 11, she has this list of like what the masculine energy is like and what the feminine energy is like. And she describes the feminine energy as receptive and organic, the emotional and spiritual, intuitive, non-rational awareness, flowing, cyclical, and spiral processes versus linear, like the masculine, or rational. The feminine is receiving and allowing and accepting rather than giving. The feminine is trusting natural outcomes, being and inner stillness, relationship and connection, listening to subtle methods of communication, such as the heart, the spirit, the inner voice of truth, being in touch with the non-physical realms of existence, like spiritual planes, fullness and form, and embodying the divine source of love. So as I have been really exploring my feminine, connecting with the great mother or heavenly mother or just the feminine aspect of God, or however you want to say that, the feminine energies that are, it has healed my relationship with food in part, among other things. It's also healed my hustle in my business. It has healed my sexuality and just so much more comfortable receiving versus just always feeling like I needed to be there for him or give, It's healed even more anxiety, like even deeper levels of calm in my life. So basically that's what I am an advocate for. I feel like something fun that I've found out in the last 6 months through everything that I've been learning is that I am actually playing a direct role in helping restore the feminine energies of women to them, like helping women turn back on their connection to the feminine divine and the feminine source that is in them. And it's something that I feel really called to do. And it's something that's directly happening in my group. And I don't know that the people that have gone through my group or that coach with me would necessarily say that. I think some of them would because it's more conscious and, open. And then others of them like might not explain it that way, but when they hear me say it, they're like, yeah, that's essentially what has happened. Also healing feminine wounds like the mother wound or the sister wound or just like the friendship wound. I think after the pandemic, we all have so much of that we carry and hold. So that's one of the reasons I very deliberately chose a group setting is and it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge to let yourself be seen and to receive, right? When you speak up in a group, you have to receive the space that everybody is holding for you. And you have to receive the love of other people when they say, thank you for sharing that. That helped me. And we are so preached to give. We are so programmed to give. We live in a more masculine dominated culture, not male dominated, just masculine dominated, right? Between the energies like linear and rational versus cyclical and the feminine, which is, non-rational, more intuitive. Society definitely puts an emphasis on that masculine, rational, and linear, and problem solving and all that, versus the listening and the connecting and the relationships and the intuition and stuff. So we have work to do and there's healing to do. And I think a lot of the anxiety and depression that we experience postpartum specifically, because postpartum is a time when if you have an imbalance between the masculine and the feminine, it will show itself. It brings the shit up. And so it's a gift though, right? Of course, but it's also destructive and hard. So come join the group. Come be with us. We would love to have you, or even just book a consult with me and talk with me about it, friend. I'm happy to chat with you. Okay. Number 4 is human design. I have been so excited about it lately and it has been helping me so much. So if you don't know what human design is, like the Enneagram, or I don't know, there's like so many different things out there, zodiacs. Like human design is just a modality that is so inspired, in my opinion, and really helps you understand your specific flavor of manifesting. So in order to find out your human design, you can go to I think it's just myhumandesign.com, and you already know your name, but you need your birth date and then the time that you were born, like the exact time and the location. And once you have that, it'll spit out like your design type. So there's generator, projector, manifesting generator, and I can't think of the other one. Anyway, I think there's 4. And I'm a generator. And so anyway, the strategy of my specific, you've heard of manifestation, maybe. I think most of us have probably heard of it. And maybe it varies how much people really know of what that is. But I'm a part of this community called To Be Magnetic, and it's all about manifesting. And I know quite a bit about manifesting, and I like manifesting, and I do it, and I actually create things in the world because, let me back up. Here's my belief and my understanding, and yoga has informed a lot of this. Sil Carson taught me this with Bodhi Yoga. But we have 2 energetic currents that flow through our chakras and our energetic body at all times. I think at all times. There can be imbalances, and so I guess there could be a stop in the flow, but we have masculine energy and feminine energy. And the feminine energy is the spiritual form of creation. This is my opinion now, and this is my understanding as I have manifested and worked with my creator and source to create. So the energy that comes down into us is that feminine? I can't remember now. But anyway, we have feminine, which is the spiritual creation. So when you have a vision or an idea, that's feminine energy. And then the masculine is the doing and the creating. So the spiritual is the being, and something that just is out there in the universe that has your name on it to create will just come to you. It just is. It just bees. It just is. And then the masculine is you go do it, and you type out the paper, or you pay the person and make it happen. Right. And so, but every single person with their unique human design, you can find out a little bit more about how you should approach and use those energies, especially in relation to the world around you, the people around you, the offerings that people put out, things they want to sell you, or, things that you can buy or do in magazines, whatever. So for me as a generator, my strategy is to respond. And what that means, and I promise I won't like go too off on a tangent for those who might not be as interested, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but this has seriously changed. Like, it has really deeply, profoundly helped me. So I want to share it. It's saved me a lot of energy, honestly, and it's preserved my presence with my children as a business owner. So I think that's really special. The strategy for me as a generator, which generator just means that I basically have this sacred life force. I'm like, it's casually saying it. It's kind of a big deal. All of them are big deals in their own way. So a generator, I hold literally like in my sacrum, like down just around my womb space, I hold this life force energy. It's what makes me magnetic. It's what draws people to me. It's what makes me like inspire people and people want to come work with me. And I guess like, I didn't know this. I've just been learning all this. Okay. But my strategy as a generator is to respond, meaning not initiate. And for so long in business, you guys, I initiated because most of the manifestation and the business, especially women in business, the techniques and the processes and the way that business is taught from woman to woman is actually still very masculine for the most part. And it's kind of hard to find women who do business in a feminine way, where you actually let things come to you, you manifest and you lean back and you receive them. And it's hella easy. It's hella easier than what's being taught to women, unfortunately. So learning my human design has helped me go from like leaning forward and trying to make things happen so much. I still obviously do that when the time is right, but I do a lot of just responding and leaning back and waiting for my sacral, like this womb space in me, to say yes or no to things. What's cool is, as I've learned about this, making decisions about what money to invest or how to market or when to offer my group, when to keep launching, when to pause a launch, all of that has become so much easier and clearer. It still gets fuzzy sometimes because I'm still learning and honing, but I know where I need to feel in my body and what I need to feel and how a hell yes feels and how it doesn't. Whereas before I would make those decisions so much more logically. So that feels very, 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 very exciting lately. Okay. And the last thing, number 5, the thing I wanted to share with you is that my relationship with money has been changing a lot. Now, this one still feels like we're in the throes a little bit. I think some of you know I've talked about the lawsuit that happened after my husband's company had to close with the pandemic. He was a co-working space, long story short. And a co-working space is where people come to work. Hopefully you know what that is. And the whole business model is people paying to be in your space. And because we were in Colorado at the time and they heavily restricted how many people could be in a certain space due to COVID, my husband could not make money. And for a while, the people that he was renting and leasing his space from were okay with that. And then they weren't. And as soon as the government protections went up, he was sued by them, unfortunately. We were. And so we lost like all these savings that we had from the sale of our house. And we knew this was a potential possibility, but it was still very shocking. And we, for a while, we felt the shockwaves from that. And financially, obviously, we're still recovering and everything. And we've been married almost 10 years. So it's been a joyride. But besides that, really what I wanted to focus on is this cool thing that I learned. So I think for those of you that are into like manifestation and stuff, this might be really interesting to you. And I also want you to think about how this applies to you postpartum, okay? And with your healing that you're wanting to do. So we naturally expand and shift into the places we want to be. Even if it's uncomfortable, we will naturally do it because that's just the human experience is we're constantly either kind of contracting or expanding. It's a lot like labor. And we're constantly being reborn into new people, even in one lifetime. It's so cool. And it doesn't always necessarily feel that way, but ultimately we're always somewhere on that journey. And one thing I learned is that if there's a part of you that, or something you're doing that is not energetically aligned, it can halt the expansion. So think of it when it comes to like birth analogy, think of it as, your body is contracting and wants to birth that baby, but if there's a block in the birth canal or something, the umbilical cord's in the way, you're not going to progress. Your labor is not going to keep progressing. You're going to kind of stagnate, even though you're still having these contractions. Nothing's really going to happen, right? And so that actually happens energetically too, when you go to create something, or when you identify a dream that you have that you want to go out and make happen. You might think you really want to make it happen, and you might put everything into making it happen. But if there is a blockage, frankly, what the situation is then is that your subconscious is like, I will not expand, even though your conscious mind is like, let's expand, because your highest good knows that you need to get that blockage out of the way before you expand. Because, final thing here, because if you don't, then what happens is when you go to your next level, so another easy example is like, let's say you kind of loathe your body or something, or you have a poor relationship with your mom, and then you become a mom, it's only going to amplify those problems within yourself. Postpartum is just going to bring those out tenfold. Same thing with making money. If I have a goal to make $100,000 and I'm going at it, but I spend every dollar I make, and I don't have like a system to protect the money that I earn, my highest self is not going to want to create more money, because there's still a hole in the bucket. You know what I mean? And we got to solve that. And so anyway, I feel like that wasn't a very cool, and it was kind of a long way to say it, but basically you won't expand without kind of resolving the blockage. So coming to you. So anyway, that was my big thing, is like, oh, I've like resisted budgeting or like setting any sort of an energetic container for having my money and being intentional about the money that I earn for a long time. But I've loved earning it, and I've gotten really good at earning it, but I just never really like knew how to take care of it. And there was like a resistance and sort of a blind spot there. And I always pushed it away. But I realized that if I want to go to the next level with my ability to manifest and create money, because I already feel like I can, like I'm already contracting, I already have the body, like I'm talking an analogy here. Like I can already do it. I can feel it. And I've been frustrated for a while. I'm like, why am I not doing it? But it's because I haven't like done the work yet, although that's what I am doing, to figure out how to maintain it and create a container for it and have it. So now I understand why I haven't expanded yet, even though I can feel that I can. Does that make sense? So coming to your postpartum healing, let's take a minute. That was a lot. You feel like we can move forward? Maybe you can go back and re-listen if you need to. Coming to your postpartum healing, here is a hack. Here's what I want to tell you, because here's what happens is women, they can feel like they can see other women healing. They can see me healing. They can see testimonials, whatever. And they get a glimpse. That feminine energy gives them the vision of they can heal, which is such a sacred privilege. And some of us might not have that vision yet. So it does come though. And once you feel like you can heal, you're like, all right, giddy up, let's do it. And there's sort of this urgency, like, let's get it done because I just want to feel better. But your highest self knows that there is a lesson that if you suffer just a little bit longer to be able to learn this lesson, you'll be so much more resilient and changed forever in a great way in the future. And so if you ever feel stuck in your healing, it's probably because there's something you have to learn here that you haven't yet. Now that can be such a frustrating thing, but let me give you a spoiler and give you a hint. I bet like 9 times out of 10, it is self-acceptance. We want to hustle and feel better because often, I can't say for everyone, but often we don't like the version of ourselves that is anxious or depressive. We don't like that we can't be on time to things. We don't like that we don't cook dinner as consistently. We don't like that she's slow and she doesn't get her house clean, that she needs more help. We don't like those things. Coming back to the society, our masculine society doesn't reward those things. Our masculine society rewards effectiveness, productivity, getting things done. And so when this feminine comes over us and sort of breaks our typical, more masculine dominated way of being, our type A-ness, our perfectionism, and I'm not trying to make fun of it. It all has its place. But in balance, of course, we we want to be back where we were, especially if we like own a business or have a job. It starts to feel really, or we're in a relationship, it starts to feel really like, okay, we really need to get back to where we were. But I believe that your highest self knows that there is something better than feeling normal again. And that is more harmony between the masculine and feminine in your life, in your motherhood, in your relationship, if you have one. And I believe that you won't have the healing you want until you can accept both the masculine and the feminine, both the badass, effective housewife or working mom or whatever it is that you are, and the depressive part of you, and revering and seeing the value in the anxious part of you. That doesn't mean you don't work on your anxiety, but loving and accepting you in the anxiety or in the overwhelm, in the paralyzed, frozen, nervous state breakdown, postpartum, or anytime in motherhood. Self-acceptance before the change occurs, that is ultimately, typically, the last thing that your subconscious needs from you before it will ride with you, see how this thing goes. If it's meant to be, it'll be. Baby, if it's meant to be, you're welcome. All right. So if you want to work on that self-acceptance and get the ball to healing rolling, go to LizzieLangston.com/program. You knew an offer was coming because you know how deeply I care about that program. And you know that I'm going to take care of you if you're in there. So all you need to do is book a consult with me. Yes, there's an application. I'm like, do the application if you want to. If it feels intimidating or it's something that you just keep putting off and you don't get it done, just freaking book a consult with me. I don't really care how you progress towards the program. It's just like, if you want to be in there, just reach out in whatever way feels good. So the application, and all of this will be in the show notes, by the way, but the application is on LizzieLangston.com/program. And then the consult booking link, technically it gets sent to you once you fill out the application, and you have the link right away once you fill out the application. But you can just click the link in my show notes here. And also I believe there's still a link in my Instagram bio. I'm on Instagram at Lizzie.postpartumcoach. However you want to do it, reach out to me and let's get you, we can chat if you're interested in coming and expanding with us and healing with us and being seen and receiving and balancing your energy so that you can move past this. We can do it together and it's going to be fun. LizzieLangston.com/program. There's not going to be an outro on this episode because I'm too tired to do it tonight. I love you. We'll see you next week.